My name is Holland Franklin, and I've been a dealer for Natural Action Technologies structured water units and have been working with structured water since about 2011. I have had an opportunity over the years to see a lot of amazing things that happen with structured water, and this is a story about one of them. Several years ago, I was helping a friend to look after her property. She lived and worked out of town and didn't have any way of monitoring her yard, so I helped. And at this point in time, this was in Santa Barbara, California, and there had been several years of drought, so all the plants were basically suffering. And to make it worse, in her yard, the timer system for the water sprinkler system had broken, so there hadn't been any water of any kind for many months. So this was late in the summer, and I happened to notice a particular avocado tree on a little hillside that was just suffering and losing a lot of leaves. It had been completely full with beautiful, lustrous leaves, and most of them were on the ground. And I was really worried that it wasn't going to make it. We also had really tight watering constraints, so we could only water a couple days a week between certain hours. And so even to try to, make the tree survive, I had to step outside of that a bit. The property had well water, so I started using a spike to try to water the roots, and also a little sprinkler to get some water on that little hillside. And that was challenging because a lot of the water would run off if I used too much. I thought, it being well water, that it ought to work pretty well, but all I was seeing was that the tree was barely holding its own and still losing leaves, and it got to the point where all that was left was this canopy of a thin layer of leaves on the very top of the tree, and some of those leaves were partially burnt because they were the most vulnerable to the heat of the sun. I had just gotten a Natural Action garden unit at that point, so I thought, let's try it. Let's see. I have nothing else to try here, so I'm going to try that. I put it on to the end of the hose that I'd been using and basically did exactly what I'd been doing before, maybe a little bit more water, but basically the same strategy, using mostly a sprinkler to try to revive the tree. And I started to see the most interesting thing. And first of all, the tree seemed to be more resilient. It wasn't losing leaves anymore. And so if I kept up the watering just right, it was definitely holding its own. But then after a few days, I want to say maybe about 10 days to 2 weeks, probably closer to 10 days, I started to see these little nubs popping out of the lower branches of the tree right above where the trunk splits off into the major branches. So these major branches and on up into the middle, most important part of the tree, started to be covered with these little nubs, which opened up and basically grew over time, new branches with all these beautiful, lustrous new leaves. And this all happened because of the structured water. Using the well water didn't accomplish any of that. It barely kept the tree alive. But the structured water not only kept it alive, but changed the growth pattern so that the leaves, instead of popping out at the very top of the tree where they were almost useless, all were coming out in the lower part of the tree where they were the most protected and probably had the most access to all those stored nutrients within the tree that regular water wasn't accessing. So that's how structured water saved an avocado tree. Thanks for listening.